The hot potato of change. I have to share this with you, okay? Because in my office, people fly in from all over the country and world. I only got a week to work with them. But I can tell you, I have seen the hot potato of change. And I want to explain that to you because if you're engaged in that process, you want to know what it is so that you can stop playing hot potato, okay? So it's something I've seen many times as couples have experienced sex addiction, intimacy, anorexia, or betrayal, and I call it the hot potato change. After exposure, disclosure, the marriage or relationship is challenged to change. We've totally clearly communicated that. The system is now confronted with change or not change, okay? But now it is in crisis. If he is the guilty one, he would be the one expected to change. Now that's just rational, that makes sense. You know, you're the one who cheated, you're the one who lied, you're the one with the addiction. You should change that so that we could live happily ever after, okay? And he may say he wants to change, but then he doesn't do recovery. Maybe he continues to relapse. Maybe he contacts the old girlfriend or the person he was in a relationship, or goes to the strip club, or does crazy stuff. Or as an anorexic, he stays withholding and blames you and criticizes and gets angry at you. And he just is so married to himself, he doesn't want to be married to you, okay? His behavior, by any measure, clearly says, I am not going to change. And it's like a 2-year-old saying, no! If you've ever had a 2-year-old, you know exactly what I'm saying. And they mean no with all their heart, okay? And so when a man behavior does not line up, he doesn't want to change. He may sell you words so that you buy them because you don't want, you don't want to deal with it either, okay? Now, when he says, no, I'm not going to change, the ball, or what I call the hot potato of change, he now throws to you. Now the hot potato of change is in your lap, okay? He's passed it to you. Now, you may or may not like that he passed it to you, but his no is a no. And you can spend tens of thousands of dollars taking him all around the world, but he said no, and he means no, okay? Too bad for you. Whatever you got to do, too bad for you. I'm not changing. I'm going to keep my behavior. It's not a problem. Everybody does it. And you've heard these lines and lies that addicts share, okay? Now, it's as if he is calling your bluff. I'm not going to change. You can't make me change. So let's see if you're going to change. And that is really going on. There's a deal being made, consciously or unconsciously, with this couple. Okay, he says, no, I'm not going to change. He throws the potato to you. You now have the potato to change, and he's betting that you're not going to change. He's calling your bluff. He's saying, I'm not going to change. I like the system the way it is. Why don't you just be quiet and put up with it? And I'm betting that you're not going to risk your family, your reputation, your image that's so important to you, or financial security, or whatever he dreams up in his brain that aren't good, but that's what he dreamed up, as to why you're not going to change. Spiritual reasons. He's got you by the spiritual, beliefs. He just believes, he knows that no matter what he does, you're not going to change. Okay? Now, couples can literally spend decades of doing the hot potato. He says no, he throws it to you. You say no, and then after a while, you put pressure on him to change. He gets the potato, he says, same potato. No, you change. And you say, no, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to get a job. I'm not going to change where I live. I'm not going to go through this process. I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, you change. And then this can go on for decades. Okay? They go to counselor after counselor, spiritual leader. They go to seminars and conferences. But nothing, or should I say no one, changes, and the behavior for both people continues. The things she doesn't want to change, she doesn't change. She doesn't try to get a job. She doesn't try to see what her rights are. She doesn't do anything differently other than complain, which he's used to, okay? And he's like, well, she's not going to change. I know that, so I'm not going to change. Why should I change? She's not going to change. Why should I change? Now, I'm not saying any of this conversation is rational or even healthy. I'm just saying what I see, what I hear for 30 years. Okay, when dysfunction hits the potential to become healthy, it doesn't always move into healthy. Sometimes it retreats into dysfunction. And if both people decide not to change, it stays that way. He pushes back and says, you change, and it goes like this. You get a job, you get a divorce. Go ahead, go down to the courthouse and file, okay? You move out if you want someone to move out. You take the blame. You change your entire life. You change your economic status. I know you're afraid. You haven't worked in 20 years. These are the things that guys actually say to their wives, okay? You know, you don't want to have sex with anybody else. I know that, okay? You don't want to face your fears of being alone or being rejected by going out and dating again. I know you don't want to do that, okay? He has already decided not to change. Now, he's got all this awful stuff that he will spew at you, but some of them are real. Some of them, these are real issues that women face. The fear of being alone, the fear of dating, the fear of sex, the fear of going out and risking financially, the fear of economic disaster. These are real issues. And not wanting to grow up, that's a real issue for everybody all the time, because we all have to grow up as we go through life. But you don't have to. You can just say, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay? So, you have two people who want the other person to change. Hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato. And this goes on, okay? So he hits the areas where he knows she's not going to change, and she wants him to change in areas he doesn't want to change. And so now the hot potato just continues. Now, I have to point out countless times to women that the problem isn't that he won't change. The problem is nobody will change. Now think for a second, and you right now, you might get some feelings about Dr. Doug. I love you. But the problem isn't that he doesn't want to change. The problem is, in the hot potato, that nobody wants to change. And for a moment, she has to look at the cold, hard facts that she's unwilling, as much as her addicted, anorexic, sick, unfaithful husband, to change. She's just as unwilling in different areas than him. So her unwillingness is way prettier than his unwillingness. But because unwillingness is in both people, the hot potato just goes back and forth, okay? And they're both saying no, but he's saying no to not changing as far as porn or masturbation or sex with others or being on the internet or his Facebook or whatever. And she's saying, no, I don't want to risk, I don't want a divorce, I don't want to separate, I don't want to change, I don't want a job, I don't want to have to go out and date again, I don't want to put myself out there. So I'll just kind of stay with what I do know, even though I don't want to, okay? So some women revert to the same line, okay? He has to change, Dr. Weiss. It's like, wait a minute. I just told you that somebody has to change. And right away, the reflex is, Dr. Weiss, he has to change. Now, some women realize that she has to change, or everything stays the same or even gets worse. And if you're married to an addict, it gets worse. It doesn't get better, okay? But that's the hot potato of change, okay? And if you're playing that game, you're gonna have to be honest about, are there areas in your life that you don't want to change? That no matter what happens, you're not going to 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not. You never. You won't. You probably need to be honest and write those down. And then process that with a counselor, especially someone who knows what they're doing. I highly recommend the ladies in my office, call them. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for many, many years, okay? But this is important, because if you can't process where you won't change, and the only thing you've got is your stick that says, Dr. Weiss, he needs to change. I'm going to deal with that in the next segment. But you will then only play the game of hot potato. And no counselor in the world can help you if you're unwilling. Just like no counselor in the world can help your husband if he's unwilling. Unwilling is tough, because the human will is an amazing thing, but it's stronger than anything, okay? And when someone says no, and they deeply mean it, change isn't going to happen. And just expecting the other person to change is only creating a dysfunctional system in which change over time really doesn't occur.